朋友们好，今天我们聊聊丹麦，不仅因为这里是美味的新鲜开放式三明治的故乡，更重要的是，今天的嘉宾就是来自这里。他在宠物行业深耕超过30年，听听他怎么说。Paul, great to have you. Honestly, sometimes it feels like the pet food world is stuck in a rut, relying on the same old marketing tricks instead of real new ideas. Do you feel like the push for genuinely healthy pet food is finally gaining the real traction? And where do you see the global pet food industry heading next?
Well, basically, I think it's, of course, a very interesting question, and we could talk hours about that. It is like if we make food for ourselves. If it's fresh fruit and you treat it in the right way, you don't cook it too long, or you don't bake it too long, of course, it would be more healthy than fast food or if you buy a lot of processed food. So on that point, I agree. And it's also a trend, what you have seen the last 10 years in human food, that people want to know what they're buying, what they're eating. Organic is a factor, so freshness is a factor. And yes, we have seen that also the past decade coming to pet food. But there's also a reality point, and that's not an alibi, that is convenient. People like convenient as well. So we humans, like you said, we like to prepare a good meal for our family, our children, do a good job, and it shouldn't take too long time. So 30 minutes max, because we are so busy. And that's the same with pet. And I think that I do agree that if you make a homemade complete meal for your dog or for your cat, that the dog and cat would like it. But you also need to know what your dog or cat needs in nutrition. So if you want to do it, you have to learn a little bit more about what does a dog and a cat actually need in protein, in fat, and perhaps some other complementary things your dog or cat needs. Because if your dog is just healthy, complete food is good. But if the dog or cat has some issues, then you also have to take care of that. So yes, I like the combination with human, but you also have to be responsible as a pet parent, that you then, if you want to make fresh food for your dog, that you do it properly. And I think that's very important. And there the convenience part comes, that if consumers get educated, of course, they would say, it's developed by leading veterinarians and it will cover the needs, which it does. And that's very important. You're not eating an omelette every day. You also eat fish or meat or plant-based. And I think also the variety is very important for your dogs and cats.
Fantastic, Paul. I'm on the same page. And in Equals, that's the name of the project, we used to say that cooking is the labor of love, and it's you need time to invest in it, and more than time. It's, as you said very nicely, you really need to dig deep into what your dog, what your cat needs, because everybody's slightly different. What do you think is the reason that top manufacturers like Mars and Nestle are not using insect protein in their mainstream diets, though each of them launched one insect pet food brand in a few countries only, and it was like 5 years ago?
Like any other industry or fast-moving consumer goods, you have stages from introduction, and then you go to a product life cycle, but also accepting. And the insect industry was in the first stage. Now it's in the second stage, but I'll come back to that. And in the first stage, everyone wants to be a part of it. I call it the hype curve. And everybody wanted and was a part of it, including some big ones. So they really tried an effort. However, what is very inherent to a new young industry, there are a lot of new things. So you have to grow capacity, which is important for globals. And any captains of industry would say quality is important, but also availability. So what comes first, the egg or the chicken? So you need to build capacity before they want to invest more in the brand and do that. And that's the dilemma now, because small scale productions have higher costs. And it is without doubt that a lot of companies still, very natural, are driven to make profits and the best result possible. So price is a factor. I always say price is only a factor in the lack of value, and there is a lot of values in it. However, still probably the gap between other premium raw materials and insect was too big, and in that case also a restraint to focus more on it. But for me, that's very natural. That's the first wave. Just wait. The second wave is coming, 𝐤𝐸. The second wave is coming.
Actually, many insects are consumed for human food, especially here in Asia. And Singapore recently, 16 insects were officially permitted in Singapore to be sold as food in the wet markets. Why don't insect producers not embracing these facts and start from Asia, which seems like a fertile soil from customers' perspective? And I wonder what is holding big international European investors from these moves.
Oh, if I had that answer, I would be very, 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 very good. First of all, I agree. I saw yesterday also a launch of noodles made with crickets from Vietnam. Fantastic, fantastic product, fantastic example. I mean, no problems. Launch a new product where the protein comes from crickets. I think it's a matter of time. And then, yeah, which insect do you start with? In Europe, they started with mealworm. In the US, with crickets, and then the black soldier fly came along as well. And that's understandable, because if you want to scale up, you do have to think about how long time does it take to grow a larvae. It's 7 to 10 days. The other insects take 30 to 60 days. And what can they eat? And there the beauty is with the black soldier fly, they can actually eat waste streams. There the difference is from Asia to the US to Europe, you've got different legislation, what is allowed to feed the larvae, which has an impact on the business model, which has an impact on the price, which also has an impact on, back to your question about the big globals, in which products would it be able to be incorporated in recipes. It is this needs to be bridged. So legislation is a key driver there. But why not share the good ones? But still you have habits. I mean, like you eat different things with your family when you cook. It's also a difference here in Europe or in the US. We have different cultures. That's a fact. And that's also reflecting how we look on our dogs and our cats, because they are treated like children. We are pet parents. I am, at least.
True, Paul. Look, insect protein, okay, great. The process itself of production is 65 years old, highly energy inefficient and not environmentally friendly. Do you call it innovation, or it's simply an upgrade because of the new novel ingredient?
Extruded pet food, is that news as innovation? No, it's very old technology. Like some airplanes, nothing has changed dramatically, I would say, if you go to the cockpit. And it's the same with extrusion. So yeah, then you say, well, that could be a question. Do you see any innovations in other processing? So yes, we have wet. Yes, we have dry. Are there some varieties, like really innovations, like slow cooked or gently cooked or oven baked or baked? And then, well, what's the difference in baked and extruded? There's a little bit marketing in it. Fresh frozen is growing, especially in the US. But then again, fresh is nice, frozen, it uses a lot of energy as well. I mean, if you go into a pet shop now, there are perhaps 12 or 14 coolers or freezers with the product. So you have to think about it as well. But from technology, and that was your key, there hasn't been the big revolutionary changes or innovations on that. It's more, I call it twinkling, new variety, a new color, a new shape, a new packaging. With that respect, a new raw material is already innovation. So proteins coming from insects with the health benefits, that's actually an innovation, because it brings something new to the table, to an existing product which is extruded. Sure. Same with freeze dry or combining different products, but really true new innovations, how to make it. No, there are not. Not really. Wet pet food steamed But then, okay, that is coming as well now, steam pet food.
Do you think there is a potential there for innovation, or like it's basically back to basics? The more simple process, the better. Actually, same for human, right? If it's just slightly steamed, slightly cooked, and eaten immediately, like not, let's say, next month or so. So less stuff to make it shelf-stable.
But then it's back where we started.
Right.
Preparing a meal ourselves for ourselves, our children, or our pets the best could be if you know what you have to make.
Correct.
Will that be a part of the market? Yes, it will be. That's part of the humanization. We can see that in the United States, but also in Europe, that fresh is growing. Subscription models. It's like food for ourselves. I don't want to use more than half an hour, so I would prepare it, but yet still it's small, and I don't see that becoming big, and that's because of the convenience level. And then again, you can always argue or come with arguments why something is better than something else. I don't personally see a problem in if you have an extruded diet for dogs and cats. They've been living on that fantastically. They're getting older and older because the foods get optimized and enriched more and more. So where they perhaps previously only were 10 to 15 years, they get 15 to 20 years. So they have a good life. I mean, and I would say 90% of dogs and cats are healthy. 10% have some issues. Well, the number of dietetic veterinarian diets has increased as well. So there are solutions for some issues. But generally, I would say with the knowledge we have as humans about pets, that all diets are actually optimized to the minimum, but also not more. So also the maximum levels of what a dog or cat needs. So I feel very happy. And if then there is a trend or development, we want to make fresh, fine. If that's going to be 1, 2, 3% of the market, nice. It could be that you say in 10 years, Paul, it has grown to 10, 20%. Well, let's see. I don't know. You don't know. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. As you mentioned, US, I was in 2019 in US, in both coasts, in New York and Los Angeles. And I was so surprised, and that was really like, was something new. I entered the shop, pet shop, and half of the shop was a kitchen. It was, I think, just food for dogs or something like this. And I was like, guys, what are you doing here? And the lady started to introduce me to all these different diets that they could over there. And then I checked the data. It was like by 2020, the whole market of fresh pet food in US already was like $20 billion. The rest of the world really didn't even start it. And that was inspired me, of course, to do my own fresh food project, although slightly different, because we really started with the education first. So we actually wanted to introduce recipes to pet parents so they can cook at home. So we kind of service platform.
But I like that. I like that. I mean, actually,
it is fun.
I've been cleaning up here on my home office yesterday, and I found material which is 20 years old and 10 years old. And for 20 years ago, we were the first ones, or one of the first ones, introducing fresh or pet food based on fresh. And people were laughing. Well, today it has stopped, I would say, so it goes down again. But the other thing I didn't want to talk about a factory or production. I want to talk about a kitchen. So actually, I made menu cards with cooking like hats and saying how many hats this recipe had. But if I tell you about welcome to our kitchen, you will say, wow, so I'm really going to see the raw materials, ingredients you use in the pet food. Yes, because it needs to be transparent. That's what pet parents like. And then you have to act on that as well. So be open and transparent. And that, I think, if you not just look on a decade, but on 50 years, somehow has been this secret. If you combine some proteins and you call it just a name, a group name, and not chicken or salmon or beef, that has been an issue, I think. And that's what I like, to be open and transparent and showing actually what's in it. So don't show a chicken fillet if there's not a chicken fillet in it. Then you just show something both with skin, the bone, and the chicken. Like in nature, like a predator, if a cat or a dog eats something, it eats everything, the skin or the meat and the bone. Well, it will eat a little bit. And that's what I like. So the word kitchen, I think I introduced it for 10 years ago, and other companies are copying that now because that is important. But it should not just be marketing. You should also have the raw material and be transparent, because it's like greenwashing. You cannot just do the story and then it's not true, because it will hit you like a boomerang. So transparency, I love it. It's good, very important. Yeah.
Fantastic. Look, one of my friends, I think you know this guy, recently said that pet food industry is the next toilet paper industry, if it's going in the same direction. And I will quote him, 70% private labels, zero innovation, customers don't give a shit. Do you feel the same, or are you on an optimistic side?
I'm totally astonished and surprised by your friend's provocative comment. I strongly think that's not correct. And I will tell you why. First of all, it's brands which grow a market, and you need innovation. Then you can discuss what innovation is, but that is actually like the oxygen in your blood. It's carrying it over your body and also in the industry. So there are some new launches and new products, and they will be there and they will stay there. Retailers need them as well, regardless how much private label they have. If it's 50 or even 60% of their market, they still need the brands. That will not change. But if you have private label, which you said, I always say, I don't talk about private label or OEM anymore. I talk about manufacturers for private brands or retailer brands. Because also that is sometimes cheapified. OEM and private label, just I call it a white bag with something on it, it's cheap. And that is incorrect. That is false. That is fake. Because actually you have different levels. And it is with quality you can define the different levels. So you've got super premium private labels, you've got premium, standard, and of course discount as well. And discount still meets the minimum nutrition requirements. But if you are a retailer or a brand owner, but let's talk a retailer now, because that's where the private label, like toilet paper, they actually develop some new products as well and want to be a destination. So they want to have something unique in their store. If that's a Tesco or a Carrefour or a pet retailer, they want something unique. So that is actually happening. Do they copy also the brands? Yes, absolutely. They do that, which is also difficult if you want to invest in an innovation, in a new product, in a new brand, that you know if your success will be rewarded with many copies. But that's nothing new. That has been there for 25 years. So tell me something new. That is normal. But comparing pet food, if you say, yeah, I should put it different. Toilet paper is a commodity, and pet food is going to be a commodity. You have different levels. And if you look just on the US market, and we all know that is more than 40% of the global pet food market is the US, and it still grows. And it is the largest super premium pet food market. And actually, the share of private label is only 20%, where in Europe, in some countries, it is 70% or 60%. So I do not agree with your friend that, for example, the leading geographic market has a relatively low private label share. It will grow, but it will not outpace the brands, because the brands are very strong. That toilet paper is, now, I like it, a nice provocative, it will get some reaction, but absolutely not. So I'm not just positive. Pet food is also about emotion and about nutrition, and not just about a hygienic product.
Paul, what advice can you give to the companies, and this is we see here in Asia, especially in China, very often, where they compete hardly by price only. And as you know, after COVID, especially the slump in the sales, in the like everybody's trying to catch up with pre-COVID numbers still, and pet food seems like a really overcapacity. What would you advise to the brand owners to do instead of dropping the price?
First of all, we talked earlier about process and about time. If I look on the Chinese pet food market, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and 5 years ago, and I still follow it carefully because I'm an advisory board member of the Pet Sourcing China Association. First of all, well, bring on all the dog and cat food. Doesn't matter almost what the price is, bring it on. Build own factories then in China. And the development, the curve has gone so steep up now that actually what I see now that, yeah, it is cheapifying somehow, and the market of low quality and cheap pet food has increased. It's highly competitive. That's probably also where your previous question came from, that somehow the development, what probably took 30 years in Europe and 30 years in the US, went probably within 10 years in China. So fast it went, the development from unique super premium to actually the discount growing a lot. That's what I've seen, that's what I've heard. Because everybody want to be involved, you get high capacity, and it's just a buyer market, and it's cheapified. That's what I've seen. But then still, you will reach such a balance because generally, if you're a genuine pet lover, as a pet parent, you want the best for your child, for your pet. Then if you have the money as well, because it's different, if you have a low wallet or a medium or a big wallet, you also, like with food, you will pay for the quality. And that's different as well. So I think that's a factor as well. But innovation will be there, brands will be there. But I do acknowledge, you didn't ask, but I've seen a trend in China also where the volume has increased, the number of supply, and there's a high price pressure, which potentially has an effect that the quality might be reduced.
It is an
so
issue,
your
yes.
savings on your cost of goods sold, your COGS, your raw materials, you try to optimize your recipes. And that's very important that you have standards there, that you don't get a big quality issue like we have seen for 10 years ago with the melamine in baby food in China, that don't go that way because it will actually hurt and destroy the whole industry. And like with the baby milk, then you have to buy it in Europe or in another continent because the confidence on home production is low. So that's very important that you safeguard the quality levels in an industry by an NGO or by the leading industry companies. Don't go over the border there. You don't want to do that.
Stay to the quality, I totally agree. But just wonder any professional tip, from the peak of your experience, I would say, what let's say a company can do in a short term, to get not really a fast reward, but let's say to really improve maybe the communication.
There I can tell you another thing. It's like the real stuff of cooking your own food. I strongly believe also in the connection between people. So where do I buy my pet food? Example is China. The e-commerce is so high. If it's 70 or 75, it doesn't matter. It is the
99.
major part. 99. But that means that there is no contact between persons and knowledge.
Zero.
And that's different in other countries. If you go to a really good pet shop in Europe or the US, or you go to a veterinarian, you get advice. And that is important also in quality, because with all the social media, don't get me wrong, I don't have any color or opinion about it. But if you don't have the experience, also with AI today, it looks so real, it looks so good. So I believe what I see and what I hear. And there you should be critical to the source, of course. So brands do, if you ask me, retailers have the responsibility there. but that might be different in a commercial world at certain stages. So again, I believe in transparency about that part, but the distribution, the place where people buy the bag of dog or cat food and the knowledge and information they get, I think that is important. So personal advice would be a way to improve that knowledge and education. A lot of pet parents, they are sometimes young people. It's instead of taking now, it is sometimes replacing a child. Even in the beginning, they're really pampering it, taking care of it, and they need information education, like my first dog or my first cat. How do I become a good pet parent? And that is important. And then if you just put on the TikToks and you get all the nice movies, well, it's same. So it's a difficult one. There I would go, but I'm old-fashioned in a good way. I would go to a shop and tell about the problem and what's the solution for the problem, and get a proper food. And it has to be proper then as well. Yeah.
Right. And visit a couple of stores to have like different opinions on the same issue. Yeah, true. I totally agree. And I have a good friend in Hong Kong, and he's a very smart guy. He started actually creating just a blog about cats, and I think it's called Cat is Cat or something like this. And then eventually people start to really ask him so many questions that it became his daily job, and guess what? He's one of the top, I think, if not the biggest online shop for all the pet food in Hong Kong, Mr. Tony. So this is probably what can happen here in China, because especially after COVID, really habits changed and they switched to all these marketplaces, online stores, and people, I don't want to say lazy, but they really want to spend time wisely, and if it's reachable online, they would go online. But I totally agree that TikTok and all the YouTube things, they're just very just random, and it's not helping, some more confusion. Look, Paul, how people may contact you if they want to talk more about insect protein or other pet food global experience that you can share.
Absolutely. I mean, I work with that insect-based pet food the last 5 years, but I've worked 30 years in this industry, both as manufacturer of OEM private label brands. I even was very privileged to be a teacher at Jiaotong University in Shanghai, actually talking about how manufacturers and retailers could work together on creating products, so OEM and private label, and what's the difference compared to brands. I have a lot of insights in retail, manufacturing, and of course consumers. So and even as with the insect, I've been on the other side of the table delivering to the manufacturers as an ingredient supplier or functional ingredient supplier. So a lot experience with private companies, but also private equity. So I'm on all the social media, very active on LinkedIn with 11,000 followers, but WhatsApp and WeChat, both is good.
WeChat is perfect.
If anyone wants to meet with me, I will be a week in Guangzhou in November at the Pet Sourcing China, which is going to be the #1 leading event. That's also what I'm very sure of, with the huge pet food companies behind that, which is not just an event of buying and selling, but it's a plus. It is sourcing, it's matching, it is sharing knowledge, what we talked about today. What are the trends? What is important? Because it's not just about buying and selling, it's much more. So I look forward to be there again with the organization, and a lot of European and Americans coming there as well. So I look forward to that.